It's playoff season, Carter.
And I'm Michael Jordan.
Sorry. It's
Hello.
playoff season, Michael Jordan.
Yes, I'm Michael Jordan. Hello.
How's it going?
Good, because I'm Michael Jordan. I'm going to be real. I was trying to think of a bit this week, and instead I got really hyper fixated on when our voice lab class in high school decided to do a small presentation of Space Jam. They wrote songs for it and everything.
I
And I
remember
remember they
hearing
had a
about
white
that.
kid playing Michael Jordan. And I guess I kind of appreciate that he decided not to do a voice and just kind of played him like a generic superhero guy. I guess we have to take the small victories in life. But also,
That
I
is very
think,
unfortunate. Let's be real.
yeah, that's one of those things that really comes back to bite you in the ass later, unless you take the high road, which was fortunately taken this time. But yes, and I also think it is thematically appropriate because not only have we probably had the most iconic sporting event in Chicago sports history since, oh, wait, they did win the World Series in 2015. At least since then, and arguably since the Michael Jordan Bulls, it was a week for really clutch play from a handful of players that kind of set the tone. Like it was a very good week for very tight, thin margin games that really came down to a handful of guys making a handful of plays. Um, I think the best quote I heard, sort of as like, like everyone who has a podcast about football, everyone who does football coverage was breaking it down. And it really was, someone said, it really is just the matter of like both teams kind of just get 8 chances to make a big play either on offense or defense. There's like 8 sort of like inflection points throughout the game where how one team plays it will set the terms of the game. Like, in so many of these close games, it really did just come down to the other team did just capitalize on one or two of those to take a game that could have gone either way. It was a very fun week of games. That really out of the 6 we got for Super Wild Card Weekend,
I love the
really
addition of
only
super.
yeah, well, that's how you know it's canon with the other Mario games. The Mario games that don't have the word super in them are like considered non-canon. The ones that have super are like that's when you know they're getting serious, like Odyssey, Wonder, etc., etc.
Sunshine.
But Sunshine, yes, thank you. Basically, all the 3D platformers. I don't think they've done. Yeah, none of the 3D platformers have. A handful of the side-scrolly ones haven't had super in front of them. But I know we're off topic here.
We're
The
losing a
point
nerd.
is, yeah, we're losing them, people. Really, there was only like one stinker, frankly, out of the bunch, and it was kind of the one that was the most predictable.
I I agree
Well,
that
all right,
that
hey,
one was a stinker. I guess the other one was kind of a mess. The one that I'm thinking of.
are you thinking of the one that personally affected you,
No,
or the one
I
right
mean
after that?
it secondarily affected me. It was not a first effect of me.
Right. Yes. Okay. I will say there are arguably 2 stinkers, but the other one was more interesting and
Yeah,
one was predictable, one was disappointing. I guess
I I can
I'm not
agree with that. I
surprised,
can.
I'm just disappointed.
If we were in the same room, I'd shake your hand in agreement with that one.
Yes. So, shall we dive into some of the highlights for this week?
We sure shall. Um,
Hu- Houston D directs divisional destiny.
whew. did I did I
Really
write
proud of
all
that
that
one.
or did? Oh, okay, you had it.
No, I annotated that.
I was like,
Look at it.
I'm a
You
big.
thought you wrote that?
I was like, I'm a big alliteration guy, but that seems crazy for me to write. Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is the one that was kind of like a secondary stinker.
Mhm.
Um, that lightly affected me. The Houston defense was an unstoppable machine.
Yes. It was truly, again, it's another one of those nobody believes in it. We've talked about this before, the effect of like everyone's doubting us, no one believes in us. What if we aspire to be more? What if we rise up and be great? Pittsburgh, my Steelers brothers, I know we've never actually succeeded. We haven't won a playoff game since before Donald Trump was sworn in the first time. But like, what if we did this time? They proceeded to score 6 points. 2 field goals.
6 point. Yeah, not even not even like a score and a missed kick. 2 field goals
Or
and
like
that's
going
it.
for 2. Would you like me to rattle off some of these drives for you?
Yeah, rattle off some drives because I got some
Okay.
very crazy stats on this that I'm looking at.
5 plays for 30 yards and a punt. Almost all of those yards came on a 10-yard run to start the game and a 17-yard pass. So they got 2 first
That
downs and had to punt.
that went from oh, this is a football game to oh, very quickly.
Right. For just a moment, your ears perked up, and then it's like Houston took 2 extra plays to like wake up. Second drive, field goal. Most of their yards came from a 25-yard pass and a 14-yard pass interference. 3 and out. 3 and out. They got 0 yards. An 8-play, 4-yard field goal drive. Negative 4 yards on 2 plays, a 12-yard pass, and that's about it. Keep in mind they were only in scoring position because C.J. Stroud fumbled it. Next, another 8-play, 23-yard punt. The plays to punts ratio here is what's really sending me. Truly, like we've talked about, like offense getting stuck in the mud where it feels like any first down feels like a goddamn miracle. This is one of those games. Uh, uh, sorry, lost my direction. 4-play punt. 4-play fumble. I believe that was the sort of game-breaking fumble where Houston sacks Aaron Rodgers and rumbles it back 33 yards for a touchdown.
Fourth quarter, 11 minutes in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
That
11
it
minutes.
surely it really captured the lack of fight the Steelers had deep down because they sack him. The defensive tackle has enough time to like get into position, pick it up like a
Yeah,
box,
he didn't like dive.
and
He
run.
didn't have to dive on it. He didn't do anything to it. He just kind of stood there and picked it up. You can, because people
Right.
were
No one was
just
going to
like,
hit him. He was in no danger of impact.
yeah, people weren't really like the commentary was questioning like, oh, it's got to be like he's got to be down, right? Like they're checking to see if he's down on contact, and they're just watching him, and he's just you see him stand there, pick it up, and then run away, and it's just like if that's not just
It's
the
the
most
most
like
dainty fumble
schoolyard,
recovery I've ever seen.
that is like elementary school gym class. Like you can't tackle each other. It's just somebody has to pick up the ball, and you already got
Right.
yelled at once, and so it's like, ah, we can't get yelled at again, or we're gonna be forced to stop playing.
Right. 6-play punt, 4-play interception returned for a touchdown. The end of the game. Houston scores 14 out of its 30 points on defense, mind you. Hit me with some of your stats because I'm looking over this and I'm actually
Alright,
getting.
so I'm
I
looking
mean,
at
can I be
I'm looking at the
disgusted with an
teams.
offense I have zero faith in?
I feel like no. Um, so there is the total yards difference between the two.
Mhm.
Texans got 408 yards. How many do you think the Steelers had?
It's got to be under 200, right? I'm gonna say like 280.
Lower.
Oh, or I mean 180.
Still lower.
Jesus, is it like 170?
A little higher. Meet in the middle.
175? Oh God.
175 yards from a playoff caliber offense. That is so upsetting.
They won their division. We all owe the Panthers an apology for all the shit talk we gave them.
Yeah, based off of this performance and another performance we'll probably talk about in a little bit. Yeah. Let's see. Guess how many of those yards were rushing yards against this obviously elite defense?
70. I'm trying to like math out reasonably how many yards you have to get, like how easy it is to get certain yards in the game. It wasn't 100, right?
It
They
was
didn't get
lower
100.
than 100.
60.
Close. 63.
Oh God, they can't even 3 yards a carry. Ugh,
Yeah.
the
Just
filthiest of
about
football games.
3.1. Texans 6.2. The Texans offense had 10 more total plays. Just 10.
That's crazy.
And
And they only possessed the ball for like 4 minutes more, so like a
not
quarter of
yeah,
a
yeah,
quarter.
yeah. I was like, no, it says 32 out of, and it's like, nope, that's not how it works because it also takes it off the other side. But
And they also lost the turnover battle. I think that's one of
they
the.
did.
I think that's
It's
the other like big takeaway
it
is
is
like
like the first ever playoff game where if you lose the turnover battle, you won. Cause
right.
yeah,
Yeah, because you look
we could
over
talk
the
about it because we can
Texans.
write it out as well. C.J. Stroud
Yeah.
and his center were so out of sync. It was like me trying to watch an anime, and the sound I was hearing was Carter playing like doing a one man show of Wicked.
Uh, well, I will say, the first time I saw that hit where Rogers fumbled it, where he gets like side of bonked in the side of the head, my head, I did kind of have the
Nice.
my head because my stance on that man has been well recorded. I am like, look, I know we shouldn't have Schadenfreude about these guys putting themselves on the line. Like they put their bodies on the line. This is a very dangerous sport. You shouldn't have Schadenfreude over people getting the crap beaten out of them. But like, I can't
They kind
deny
of
that if this is the last game Aaron Rodgers plays, I am pretty happy about that. A game where the other team's offense objectively plays kind of mediocre. Like, I believe they ended up having 6 fumbles and got lucky that only 2 of them were lost. They threw an interception. Like, it really was like the Texans basically have 2 good drives where they just kind of methodically march the ball downfield. It was like the handful of times, again, you see the vision of like they're an okay running team and Stroud's capable of making enough big splash plays. Christian Kirk, who was erroneously called Charlie Kirk by Stephen A. Smith,
oh my god,
which prompted
yeah,
a whole
yeah,
deranged rabbit hole where someone found like actual high school highlights.
yeah.
Um, Apparently, Charlie Kirk at one point was the backup quarterback, pivoted to wide receiver, and was just okay. Um, but yeah, like they were completely contingent on like splash plays and the fact that the Steelers defense, despite being so expensive, is kind of paper thin at stopping the run.
Yeah.
Like an
It
even
was
adequate offense probably could have beaten the Texans.
yeah, they were like they just fell apart and if their offense competed remotely well
Right,
cuz let's be honest, 8 or 14 of those points are related to direct
right,
turnovers. So, let's be generous, give them 1. That's 21 ish.
right. Yeah, say they get
Still
one
very
turnover touchdown. That's fair.
still very beatable, still very fightable.
Right. Because if you include the field goal, the 2 offensive touchdowns, and 1 defensive touchdown, that's 24 points. And like, let's look over. I'm pretty sure, other than the really ugly Patriots Chargers game, I think everyone got over 24 points. Let me double check that.
Uh outside of
Let's see.
this? No.
Yep, the Rams and Panthers did. The Bears and Packers did. Literally every team except the Eagles, the Patriots, and the Chargers managed to make it over 24 points. So
Well,
that's not
the
like an impossible
49ers
feat for a playoff offense.
49ers technically
Oh,
only got 23, but that's pretty much there.
well, losing 24 to 23 isn't. Well, it's more honorable than this. I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah, any of the other games were more honorable than this.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's a very like you would like to think that the moral of this score was like, dang, the Texans finally got it all together. They look great. And I'm like, it's kind of the same story we've had this whole season where like the defenses look good and the offense just pisses you off because you see the briefest moments of like
Clarity.
competency and
Yeah.
excitement. And then it just falls apart because CJ Stroud tries to force something or their offensive line breaks down and he
Their
gets
offensive
walloped.
line breaks down. Their center just missed snaps. Their offensive line
They
breaks down.
exactly. They can go entire quarters or entire halves of quarters where like it's all punts, like or 3 and outs. Or
Yeah.
not 3 and outs. I meant turnovers. And I mean again, I keep the only reason why I think they're get like on one hand, when in doubt, bet on the good bet on the good defense.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
because it's
the
such
better
a different
defense.
like it's such a momentum breaker.
Yeah. Like I mean you saw it at the end of the Steelers game. You they had no will to stay. There was so many empty seats in this once again playoff caliber game at home, mind you, and it was just
Mhm.
empty seats galore.
Right. And like, I mean, my last point on this for the Texans is again, I hate to just be the pundit who talks about his team again, but it's like this Houston Texans defense gave Josh Allen probably his two worst performances in the last 5 years. The game last year where he went 9 of 30,
Yeah.
and this year where he got sacked 8 times, which set a record for him. Both of those games came down to a single score. Uh, you know, the first one, they can't get into the end zone, kick a field goal to tie. Houston moves it just enough to get a 50-yard field goal to win the game. And this year, we were in the red zone and just couldn't get it done. And I'm like, that's kind of like, again, just okay. Honestly, I'm not even okay. We played bad offense against them twice and still got close. Like,
Yeah.
I just needed a little more. And I do think it is weird, sort of, because I do think with this, we can also announce Mike Tomlin did step down. So
I think
technically, his
step down is
contract
such a
is
fun term.
right. I mean, really, it becomes more of a legalese thing of like legally, the Steelers still have his contract rights. So if another team wanted to hire him, the Steelers would either have to be generous enough to void his contract or they would have to get draft compensation, which is such a funny thing to think about. Like the idea that you can like trade for coaches.
Yeah.
Can you trade for GM? How many draft picks would Howie Roseman get? Or yeah, how
Howie
many draft picks would Howie get? Two first rounders?
Howie would get like at least like that depends. Is Howie working on the deal for himself?
Oh, that's such a weird thought.
Because
Oh, that's weird. Right,
like if
because
you
he
think
doesn't
about
want
it,
to trade himself for too much because he's going to need the draft picks.
yeah.
Oh
So
shit, I didn't think about this.
because like and he's like let's be real, he's one of the more diabolical GMs when it comes to trading.
Mhm.
It's not a secret at this point anymore. And if it was like something for in favor of the Eagles, I could see how he somehow managing to get himself for like 2 years worth of first round picks and then like a at least like 2 second rounds as well or something like that. Like he would work out the most insane deal for himself easily.
I kind of want to see that happen. That would be so interesting. But yes, so he is no longer going to be coaching. It is interesting. I mean, there's a lot of different, and we don't have to complete. We can save most of this discussion for the offseason, but I really do think it is just it's kind of weirdly, the Steelers have effectively had three coaches since the AFL merger,
Yes.
and I do think this is just kind of the same story that brought the other two down. Like it's the same thing that happened with Bill Cowher of like at some point the league kind of outgrows you and you either evolve and change or you retire. And I think that's kind of the case. Mike Tomlin has a very specific way he wanted to run his team. He had a very specific way he wanted to run the defense. And like that wasn't enough to stay it was enough to stay competitive through sheer culture and sheer high end talent, but it wasn't enough to get far enough. I
Yeah.
just think about him in the context of Sean McVay, who's on basically he's on like gear 3 of his offense. He somehow like completely reimagined his, you had the Todd Gurley like funnel offense. Then you had this high flying thing with Matthew Stafford. Now you have this crazy thing where you have like three tight ends on the field at any given time, and you're just jamming it down people's throats. So I'm like, that's not really Tomlin's bag, and he kind of it was time for him to go as a result. I do feel bad because apparently the locker room did get very emotional when he made the announcement the following day. And you do empathize because it's like, no one wants to lose their jobs. Like we can like rag on them for being like perfect mid for the last decade, but it's like yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, there's a reason why he stayed around so much because players love him.
Yeah. No, I think he's I think it's going to be the politics of if he decides to go to another team or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like 75% if he wants to just be like, you know what? I'm retired. I've done 19 seasons.
Yes.
I'm going to
19 seasons and not a single losing one, which is it is
it's
for all of our ragging on it, it's a significant accomplishment.
yeah. But I think
But
I think
yeah.
whoever is next based off of the current prestige of the Steelers like
Mm-hmm.
coaching room, whoever is eyeing up that job is hoping to have a job for life. Cuz look at their track record. They've had 3 coaches since the merger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm.
Ravens
God, I
also
can't
low
even
on that
imagine.
list, and they're also looking for an opening.
God, did
Also,
you see that presser the Ravens owner did where he kind of like he was well, I was gonna quip. He sounded drunk, but he was just being like very verbose for a guy who just missed the playoffs, and
yeah,
he was just like, I would have hired him if it wasn't for the chest beating thing. Um, a name I've heard a lot with the Steelers is I didn't realize Shula has a kid. Don Shula, the famous coach of the Dolphins who led them to an undefeated record, he actually has a son who's a defensive coordinator for the Rams. Apparently, he's like a big favorite. A lot of people want him to go to, or grandson, pardon me. I was going to say the ages didn't line up there. People want him to go to the Dolphins, and I'm like,
no,
that is so much fucking pride. Like, again, like I got anxious carrying the torch of being like the athlete in my family because my dad went to played like Division 3 college, and you're telling me I have the expectations of the Dolphins on my ass? Absolutely not. But yeah,
no,
I
that
wouldn't be
sounds like
surprised if
a
Tomlin
trap.
just stays in. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Tomlin just stays in TV for a while because again, everyone kept saying like, oh, Bill Cowher will just take a year or two, like someone will want him, and then I do think at some point like you get tired of the grind of it, and it's kind of nice to just like
I think
it's not an easy job to be a
I
TV
think what's
guy,
gonna
but
be
like it's a lot lower stress.
yeah, I think what's gonna determine it is the like next September where it's like
Mhm.
if if he shows up on TV or something like that and it's just like, oh, this is chill. I just have to be
Mhm.
on for a Sunday or Thursday,
Right.
depending on what.
Right. Your prep is from like Wednesday to Sunday, and then you get like 2 days.
Yeah.
It does seem like a nice life if you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Because
I was gonna say,
like NFL players, you're on from like pretty much August 1st through now with how long seasons are and stuff, like January 5th guaranteed, like every
mhm,
single day. Playoff bound and further, you're looking like you're gonna show up until February.
right. Um,
But
incidentally, though,
coaches,
I already
it's
know.
like you all once like you get like that. If you miss playoffs, you get that hot minute to collect thoughts, finish up meetings. You get your own playoff picture to chill, and then it's like, all right, now we got to start thinking draft. We got to start thinking re-signings and stuff.
Mhm.
And
I do think like if we wanted to do this thematically appropriately, the NFL on Fox, they've had their staple guys for a while. I don't know if you've watched it recently, but Terry, it just seems like it's time. At some
he's
point you reach a period where it's time to hang it up. And I do think it would
I
be kind of cute to have another Steeler sort of fill that spot.
that would be fun. I kind of agree with you about Terry. It's not like he's got like bad takes or anything like that, but it's like he's getting up there in age clearly. Um,
Right.
and it's just one of those. It's kind of like pro wrestler syndrome, where it's like you don't want to be like, "Hey, I want you to leave because you're great," but also it's like you're kind of. Are we gonna get to this point together where you either just mysteriously die, and we have to oddly address it, or are you just gonna be like get to this point where we're just like, dude, this is just sad watching you now.
Yeah, that's what it is. It is like, and again, it's like, it's never fun. You're right. It's like the wrestling thing. Hell, it's like, for example, like, again, with Lee Corso, it's like, did he probably stay a few years longer than he should have? Yeah, but like, no one wants to tell the legend it's time to go.
Yeah,
And he got to go out on his own terms, had a nice little send off, and like had this nice little cute thematic bit where he got to pick his final helmet or like mascot head to wear. And it was nice. And everyone was like, yep, it is time. It's okay. This isn't bad. This is good. We get to
yeah,
celebrate it. Like you want it to be a celebration going
yeah.
out, which I guess is
It's
the only hang up for this.
yeah. No, it's you want it to be a celebration, and you want it to be on the person you're celebrating terms,
Hmm.
but you don't want it to be forced on their terms. So like,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of a good example. For example, the wrestler Edge in the late 2000s, prime of his career, putting on absolute banger performances, and then he's just like, the doctor was like, "Hey, your neck is like so fused together that if you take one more
Ugh.
bump, I don't know, was he neck fusion? I think he's neck or spine, but it's like if you take one more bad bump, we can't guarantee you won't be paralyzed. And
Jesus
fortunately, I mean,
Christ.
fortunately, long term, he actually is able to return to the ring, and he's on the terms of like winding down this year for his final thing. And he has returned with enough gusto that it's like, all right, you don't look like shit. Where it's like, all right, we're gonna call it, and like, or like John Cena, where he's just like, this is going like 2025 is my final run. That is it, because the second, like, my body feels like it's slowing down, and it was not like starting to show for like being part time, but like
Mhm.
compared to prime full time Cena, it was just like
Right.
nowhere in the same vein of like work and stuff. And it's
Mhm.
just like, all right, like he's like, I'm ending on this date, and I'm basically hand picking my final opponents because I want to go on my terms, and this is how it's going to be done.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, he's technically lost, and you felt sad about that because that would have been one last thing. But then he's like, all right, I'm done. He leaves his shoes in the ring, he leaves his armbands in the ring, and he just everybody claps him out.
Mhm. Wow, we talked about this game longer than I thought we would.
Same.
Anyway, uh, for a 30-6 fucking game,
Yeah,
Josh goes beyond.
he goes plus
Plus,
ultra.
Ultra! Kevin and Co. have been getting me into My Hero Academia, and the shortest explanation I can possibly do for people who aren't familiar is it is a comic book story about a world where everybody's getting superpowers, except our main character, of course, Deku, who's quirkless, as they call it. He ends up getting sort of chosen by the best hero in the world to inherit his power. And there's the constant framing of going beyond plus ultra. It's like a catchphrase that
It's
means
the
like
school motto.
sometimes, yes, the idea is like, at some point when you're a hero, you're going to get pushed to 100%, and you just got to push past 110%. I kept referencing the sort of season one sort of wrap up is a bunch of villains attack the school, and All Might, despite being critically injured already and not having much time left to use his power, just fucking mollywops a guy, just locks in. At one point, he's just like throwing this guy around and says the catchphrase and shoots him into orbit, even though he's literally about to collapse. And that's how this game felt. This was a hard game to watch. One, because we had a bit of a birthday festivity the day before, and it was the most nauseous I've been in quite a while for a football Sunday. But also because Josh was getting the ever living shit beaten out of him. This was a physical game. I
Very.
believe he only took one sack, but there definitely had to be like three or four major quarterback hits,
I
several
would
of
say,
which were just full on body folds.
yeah, one sack versus like the quarterback's being tackled when it's not considered a sack. Two
Right.
very
He ends
different
up
things.
running the ball. Yeah, he ends up running the ball 11 times, and I was starting to get tilted where I'm like, why the fuck are you running your quarterback with a bad foot into direct traffic? His knee bent backwards. He got his neck sat on. He got hit square in the stomach. He got hit in the balls. Someone threw a frying pan at him. They did that comedy thing where an entire shelf of pots and pans just bonked him on the head one after another,
Yeah.
and then he swallowed some hot sauce. Uh, he got a plunger stuck on his face. Someone dropped a piano on him. And yet, the numbers are not going to be remarkable in
No.
terms of like, uh, compared to like that game he had against the Patriots where they scored on literally all of their drives. He ends up getting 273 passing yards and a touchdown, and then two rushing touchdowns. But watching it, it really
It
was like spinning gold out of like yarn.
yeah, watching it, it felt very Jacksonville heavy, with
Mhm.
the exception of Josh Allen.
By any reasonable metric, the Jaguars should have won this game. I'm
Oh
going to be honest with you because they
yeah,
did exactly what they needed to do. They did exactly what every team's needed to do to
they
beat the
held
Bills, and it's
they
James
held
Cook to 3 yards of
James
carry.
Cook. Um, they kept
They had ex-
the explosive plays for their receiving core very minimal.
Right. They were making a lot of tackles. Khalil Shakir was basically a check down running back, 12 catches on 12 targets. Do you want to guess what his average yard per target was?
I don't want to because I'm looking at it.
Less than seven.
Yeah,
Truly, it got
6.8.
to the point where they literally started putting him in the backfield to just be a distraction for any pass rush. The big
Yeah,
play Josh had to cook, Shakir missed the blitz pickup, and Josh had to just throw it into the air. Like, you kind of
wow.
did everything you had to do. You
Yeah,
converted a lot of third and longs. You were explosive in the run game. Like, Lawrence had those, like, 4 or 6, like, big flashy plays that have made him cool. You somehow managed to march the ball downfield into field goal range with literally a second left on the clock at halftime, only to miss the kick. And that's what I mean. It really did come down. This was the game that really best exemplified, like, both of these teams are going to have like 6 to 8 chances to make a play.
yeah.
And fortunately for the Bills, they made every single one. And unfortunately for the Jaguars, they didn't. They missed a field goal. Trey White makes an incredible play to deflect a pass in the end zone to force them to settle for a field goal. Um, they go for it on fourth down. Trevor Lawrence dives. His shin ends up hitting the ground before he gets the ball across
Yeah.
the line. And then the backbreaking play at the end where they have a chance. The Bills have scored with about a minute and change left. By any reasonable metric, they should be able to march downfield and at least get a shot at a field goal. Um, Forces a pass into traffic. Trey White knocks it up into the air, and Cole Bishop, Carter's don't sleep on pick for the Buffalo Bills, picks
Yeah.
it off.
No,
Bull Bishop.
I gave Carter a lot of credit for that immediately because I was just like, what was it, our halfway spectacular, where it was just like, uh, who do you think, like who's your don't sleep on, and it's just like, yeah, no, it's gonna be Cole Bishop.
Hmm. Right. And I think that is the one difference. Like, again, I don't know if this Bills team can do it. If they can't run the ball, and if Josh keeps getting the shit kicked out of him, I don't know how much longer he can go at 110% of its power at this rate. But, like, if the defense can at least make play, like, I'm not asking the defense to be good. I'm asking the defense to make splash plays. They got 2 interceptions that changed the momentum of the game and kept the Bills in it, and effectively forced a third turnover with that fourth down stop. Um, like, if you can just get enough of those, it at least gives a window. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest challenge
Oh,
right
here's
now is
our
just, again,
week
attrition.
13 don't sleep on question.
Oh, wow, we did it that late.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Huh. And again, it really just comes down to the margins where I'm just like, they lose Gabe Davis on just a brutal injury, which I'm
Yeah.
gonna say really looked like a fucking cheap shot. Like the Jags were playing a little dirty this time around. Josh Hines Allen
Yeah.
makes the comment after the game, like, we sent him to the blue tent twice, and I'm like, I'm fucking sorry. And I gotta say, I am a little nervous to play the Broncos, whose coach Sean Payton got suspended by the NFL for running a bounty ring.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It's crazy we don't bring that
Jacks,
up more.
yeah, that happens, but like I would say like Jacksonville and also like Washington, they have two like kind
Mm-hmm.
of scummy adjacent defensive defenses. So it's just like, oh yeah, this is like, are you intentionally trying like Frankie Louvu in the on the Commanders, where it's just like
Mm-hmm.
you you have a good enough money to make it have a good enough lawyer to convince everyone else
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, but I'm kind of looking at you here.
Right.
But no, it
And
was.
honestly, of all the yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say continue.
Well, I was going to say, of all the teams who lost in the wild card round, I probably feel the best about the Jaguars because they're the team who felt most like they
They
belong
felt
there, who
very
felt like they have
competent.
the clear.
Yeah,
Yeah, they looked competent. They look like they had the clearest path to success. You are just going to have to ride those waves of, like, yeah, Trevor Lawrence, like, will sometimes force the ball. Like, for every incredible play he has, he'll maybe have one that you really wish you could have back. Honestly, for me, the biggest thing in terms of, like, getting it together, all the investments on the offense, I'm genuinely like, does Travis Hunter even play wide receiver for this team next year? Because, like, you
he,
have Jacoby Myers, who's
yeah.
like
I think
your funnel guy. You have Brian Thomas
Trent,
Jr., who played a lot better on the back half of the year. Parker Washington, who was a 1,000-yard receiver.
Parker
Like, I'm like,
Washington
he's kind
was
of
a
your
very
fourth option.
secret, like, great player for the Jaguars.
Right.
Um,
Um,
I think
like,
it's
I
a
kind of.
matter of the draft picture in for them, and it's not in terms of like. I think it's in terms of specifically their defense because if they could fill his role on offense, which they kind of clearly have, but not defense, I think he's gonna stick.
I do.
I think he's gonna stay defense.
I really do think it's like you only on offense you might only put him in like 4 receiver packages out of like not out of obligation because he played well as a wide receiver this year, but out of like you traded two. When you trade multiple first round picks, the argument is, well, we're getting 2 players for the price of one, and I'm like, well, you kind of have to commit to that now. The picks have already been spent, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, if that's like your biggest question going into the offseason, I feel like you're doing pretty a-okay as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. Um,
Uh,
and that leads us into one of my other favorite games of the week. A Chi-Town special. The Chicago Bears, in their first home playoff game since it actually might be since they went to the Super Bowl that one year and
it's
lost to
been.
Peyton Manning.
I'm gonna say it's been quite a minute since they've hosted. Well, they were in it, let alone hosted.
Right. Because I
This
don't think they've even been in it since Mitchell Trubisky was their starting quarterback.
this is the tale of the fourth quarter Bears. This
Yes.
imaginary yet illustrious team that has been kind of, I don't want to say plaguing, but it's been lurking around the NFL all season long. Where
The
they.
Michael Myers team of the year, where
Mhm.
unless you see the harpoon gun go through the head, they're probably going to get up
Yeah,
and try to stab you in like 10 minutes.
yeah. Where.
Unless you see the house explode,
Mhm.
just be on your toes.
All right, like, score at the half 21 to 3 in favor of Green Bay. Score before the fourth quarter 21 to 6 Green Bay. You think
We really need to.
this
Yeah.
is.
There's no way. There's
There's
just
no
no
way. This is
way.
game. And then, once again,
Like,
this.
especially because it wasn't just that they were getting outscored. The Bears' offense just looked kind of kerfuffled.
Yeah.
Like, they just couldn't get anything going. Caleb threw a pick. Like, they were getting, like, they literally had 2 turnovers on downs. At one point, Caleb just starts yelling at someone, ends up getting his foot stepped on.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, well, you know what? It's a first time head coach in a playoff game, it's a first time quarterback in a playoff game. Like, these things happen. They're getting out. They're getting outplayed by guys who have been there before. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
And then
And then fourth quarter
if you,
happens.
I I wish I had some of those like percentage margin things because like everyone's talking about like the odds of this happening, like the
Yeah.
little like percentage they have on
I
ESPN.
would.
Going into the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
it was I'm looking it up now. At the start of the fourth quarter, the win probability was 93% Chicago or Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
93%.
I feel like that's when you
Um,
kind of go, ah, let's send these guys home and just waste
mhm,
some time.
right.
And then you didn't.
Yeah, no, it's exactly it. Like it's a great line I heard someone say when the Falcons lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, where it's like at some point when you have a big enough lead, you're not playing against the other team. You're playing against the clock, and you need to like strategically figure out the way to waste as much time as possible to keep this from happening. And genuinely, from the third quarter on, the Packers they had one oh, here's a great stat. They only had one positive rushing play. One
Crazy.
rushing play that gained more than 2 yards. 3 and out, 3 and out, 5 and out, 3 and out. Finally, a touchdown. I believe it was a 23-yard incredible. Oh, that was the incredible play by Matthew Golden. True, and like silver lining for them is I feel like they've really underutilized Golden this year, and I'm really excited to
I think
see what they can cook up
I
for him
think
next
this
year.
was a feet wet into our
Mm,
scheme, and now next season is going to be a
agreed.
let's
And
see
they can
what
do
you
like
got here.
K-pop dances, and it's going to be great. They're going to seal the honeymoon. That's why they had to lose this game. They have to have the drama before they can seal the honeymoon. But anyway, and then a missed field goal and an end of game where their final play, I believe it was at the Chicago 28, fumbles the snap, rambles around, barely gets the ball into the end zone. Um, I guess, like, again, there are two angles. Obviously, the Bears, like, no matter how bad your team underperforms, it's really hard to score 24 points in a single quarter. And we got to give our flowers to both in the sense of like time management, clock management. like game situation, I'm just utterly blown away by how great the Bears looked in this final little stretch.
I
Obviously, the play that stands out, and kind of why I did the Michael Jordan reference at the beginning of this, um, the 4th and 8 in their own on their own side of the field. Caleb is forced to roll to his left, is getting tripped sideways, leaps into the air. His body is parallel to the line of scrimmage, flicks it, and it somehow not only doesn't dive straight for the sideline, but stays basically on a line, goes over 3 defenders into Rome Odunze's hand. It actually might be the best throw I've ever seen from a quarterback.
it
Like, I don't know
was
how you throw that.
it was pretty fucking impressive. Won't lie. I think it was a matter of. I think at least with this, it's like one of those things where I'm disappointed in the Bears won because it's more on the lines of Green Bay couldn't pull up a
Mm-hmm.
stop in the final quarter. Like
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't just be like, well, let's just shut them down. And it's like, no, we're gonna score.
It really, it's actually, and like, look, like a lot of people have litigated Caleb Williams' season because at the end of the day, the numbers are good but not great. He's still in like the 50% completion percentage range. There's still moments where he takes sacks or has dumb turnovers. But I'm like, it really is just something about that fourth quarter. The ratio of bonehead plays to plays that literally only this guy can make just go completely flips. And you're like, this is some of the most incredible, again, all of the hype, all of the generational quarterback talk, like you're immediately like, oh, I get it now. I completely get this. And between like someone made a comment when he was coming out of the draft, it's like him and May will be the next Allen Mahomes, and I'm like, this is the first time where I'm like, oh,
This
yep,
is
yep, yep,
this
yep,
is where
yep,
you can kind of see it showing up.
right. And yeah, for the Packers, it's I don't know. It's pretty embarrassing to average outside of the 1 touchdown drive. Basically, all of their yards came from their last 3 drives. To average like basically like 15 yards a drive for the entire second half is really, really bad, especially against a defense that does not have linebackers anymore.
Yeah,
I still think they're down to like their third or fourth linebacker. Um, there was a little bit of talk about whether or not they would bring Matt LaFleur back. He's on the last year of his contract, and traditionally they really like if a coach is on his last year and you're not 100% sure you're going to keep him, you usually let him go because it's really hard to go into the year with like the contract thing hanging in
yeah.
the balance. As bad as this
I
is, I do think that would be incredibly foolhardy.
I was gonna say I think Lafleur is good enough that he can earn yeah, like a 3 year max like extension on it,
Mm-hmm.
but like nothing guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of thinking of with it because he's still a very good coach, and my concern would be with how many openings there are and stuff like that of
Mm-hmm.
adding another higher tier coach into the coaching pool is going to cause something to shift somewhere because he's going to want to like he goes to a different team and he's going to make
Mm-hmm.
you guys look like fools. I think. And with Harbaugh gone and Tomlin's future kind of not confirmed, and the third
Mm-hmm.
teams with Stefanski of the AFC North,
Yeah. So Stefanski's theoretically going somewhere.
yeah, I think I think there's a lot of good coaches kind of out there, but Harbaugh's already been picked up, and everyone else is already like well into the interview process. That I feel like it would have been uh, if they didn't do it Monday after the game. I don't think they're gonna do it this season. Now I wouldn't be surprised if it was like if the Packers just sucked and he is like a early exit next year or makes it to the end of that, but I think he's able to have a home in Green Bay.
Yeah, it's yeah. Like here's my stance. I've seen him do some incredible stuff. He basically dug Aaron Rodgers' career out of a ditch. Like, again, we forget how really bad it had gotten in Green Bay those last couple McCarthy years where they just weren't able to do anything. The
Yeah,
offense had stalled out. He's the only guy of the last three coaches Aaron Rodgers has had who was able to manage his ego and make a functioning offense.
yeah,
Uh, he's kept them competitive and in the hunt even throughout injuries over the last couple years. Jordan Love seamlessly came in and is looking like a higher end quarterback. Saved Malik Willis' career and turned it
yeah.
around to the point where he's probably going to get a hefty
I
backup
think,
contract or like
yeah, if he's
transitional quarterback position.
yeah, if he's not going to be like the guy that the rookie subs into for
Hmm.
like next season, he's getting a hefty backup quarterback spot.
Exactly. Yeah, and like all of that on top of the fact that they've never had a true, undeniable number one wide receiver. They've had injuries out the wazoo.
Yeah,
Again, this offense is like half formed because you lost like your two top targets. And like, I don't know. And like its biggest problem really is like game management. He's lost multiple playoff games because he's like not the best at handling situational football. Like this was a situational football situation of we have a big lead, there's a lot of time, and our defense isn't that good. We just need to chew up as much time as possible to make sure it is impossible. Like that the other side runs out of time, and it's like I'm willing to roll the dice that he's going to get better at that than I am that I'm going to find an offensive coach better than
yeah,
him. Like hell, you want an example? Sean McVay fucking sucked at game management for the longest time, and then he got a little better, and the stuff he's good at was so good it made everything better. Like I just really do think it'd be throwing the baby out with the bath. It would be an emotional decision because you lost a kind of embarrassing game against your rival.
yeah.
When in reality, it's like you looked like you were going to get the one seed. Micah Parsons tears his ACL, and you go 0-5 the rest of the way. I'm like, I'm not
You,
going to fire people for that.
I think, yeah, I think it's going to be the logistics of you did what you could do, kind of like the
Mhm.
49ers did, but just less successfully. I think this could have been a very different game, and there could have been very different seeding if they kept if Parsons didn't tear his ACL.
Mhm.
I think
Exactly.
this could have been a different game if they got one more stop in the fourth quarter. There's like so many like little like butterfly effect moments of just like if this one like I took one pivot step instead of like jumping out to the side, we could have done this.
Right.
But I think Jonathan
You
is
know what
safe.
that game looked like? You needed your defensive closer. It's almost like your defensive closer tore his ACL like a month ago.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. But like again, I really do think this is. I know it's hard to just like when it comes to a year that doesn't go the way you want. I understand. Hey, I'm a fucking Bills fan. I understand it's really hard to be like, well, let's stay the course. This was the weird circumstances that brought us down, like are fixable. But like this is actually one of those cases where I do think that applies because truly, if you had one elite defensive player, I think you get enough stops to end this.
yeah.
Anyway, our games to watch. You picked a very fun game: Los Angeles at Carolina, or versus. Oh no, they were in
No, they were
Carolina.
at Carolina.
Los
I know
Angeles,
that seems
right?
weird.
Because of the right, we litigated this last week.
No,
Yes.
it was
So the
yeah, it was Rams 34, Panthers 31 at the end, and it was just a very like an oddly close back and forth for what this game should have been.
right. Well, what's weird is it was very similar to like I wouldn't say it's similar to Steelers Texans, but it was similar in the sense of like the team who's obviously kind of outgunned, keeping it close enough. The difference is the Panthers offense was good enough to actually capitalize on
Yeah,
that closeness.
there
I'd argue it
was
was very similar to their last matchup.
yeah, I think the biggest difference of this is there was a couple fourth quarter play calls from the Panthers like on the Panther side where it was just like
Mhm.
what are you doing? Like you just see it and you see these like very short plays in very weird
Mhm.
fashion and you kind of just stand there and go, "I'm sorry, what?"
Right. One of the plays they ran on one of like there was a really it kind of felt like a backbreaking turnover on downs in their own territory that fortunately didn't end up costing them anything because they got an interception later. But like
Yeah.
it really was like one or two plays where you do feel the limitations that you feel the limitations of this offense when it's centered around Bryce Young, where you're like, there's certain plays we kind of can't run, so we're gonna try and play it safe
Yeah.
and like do the low risk medium reward play as opposed to the high risk high reward play that this
Hmm.
situation probably demands. But for the most part, they kind of did do what they had to do in terms of like, look, control the game, run the ball all right,
Yeah.
like just hold on to the ball as long as possible and kind of try and get, if we get one or two big splash plays on defense, we can steal this effectively. They
Hmm.
got one blocked punt, they got one interception, and that kept the game close. And again, I maintain, like, I feel like what's funny is despite the Panthers stats not being the sexiest, like
It
I
wasn't.
do think the receivers did a lot of great work here.
Yeah.
Again, I'm probably
Like
going to be more generous to the Rams about almost blowing this because it's a bad matchup for them. Again, they're very small in the back end, and the Panthers are a league of giants in the receiving room.
yeah. I think no. This was a good showing by both teams, and this was a playoff caliber game. Um,
Right. Exactly.
I
It
feel
looked
like
for just a moment.
yeah. I also feel like this would be like this is one of those games that would be the tale of two cities, or like the tale of two teams, I guess. Um, the Panthers were never going to be like they were going to be obviously sad they lost, but they were never going to be upset because if you told this to the beginning of the year Panthers, they'd be stoked.
Mhm.
And they are,
Right.
right? Because that was like what a proof of concept for whatever's going on in Carolina.
Exactly. You have a very dynamic receiving room that has like where you've built it around a very specific vision, and that vision seems to work. Building this like huge group of receivers who can kind of just bully ball their way. You
Yeah.
have two good running backs. Your investments on the offensive line paid off. They're infinitely better than they were last year. You
Yes.
spent a lot of money to get the defense better, and that feels like even if they gave up 34 points, they're a lot better than they were last year. Really, the only thing you don't have a definitive answer on is whether or not you want Bryce Young for the long term. But fortunately, due to the rookie salary cap rules, you have him for at least one, maybe two more years, and you can like figure out after
Yeah.
that.
I think.
Like he
I
he
think
did well
next
enough that you
season is.
don't have to answer that
Yeah.
now.
Next season is going to be the question of should we keep him, should we not? But they don't have to worry about
Right.
drafting a quarterback because I still stand by
Exactly.
this is not a great draft class for quarterbacks.
Oh, it's even worse now because
Yeah.
the guy from Oregon decided to stay back. So it really is just Mendoza and whether or not you believe in that Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. And I would just say, if you believe in him, you might be wrong because the only reason he came out this year is because they just got a 5-star recruit at Alabama for quarterback, and he was probably going to get
He was gonna,
benched.
yeah,
And you can't get drafted if you're benched.
yeah. No,
Um,
it was literally gonna be
so I
like
would find that
it was.
ill-advised.
It was okay. I declare, and I'm at least safe as a starting quarterback. I don't declare
Yeah,
and
you're at
whatever.
least the second best quarterback on the draft board now.
Yeah.
Although I do love the quip someone made where everyone's like gassing up next year's quarterback class now, and it's like, if all these guys stayed an extra year because they weren't good enough now, what does that say about them overall? And I'm like,
I think it's also the draft order this year.
right, well, that too.
It's
Well, yeah, and
it
my
is
answer to that question is like, yeah, and these teams won't develop them. So why not stay in college where you can kind of just get reps and at least learn how to be better?
yeah. Because if you look at the order, it's like Raiders, Jets early,
Mhm.
and those two teams are so unfun for like a upcoming quarterback because they have so many other problems that it's just like, all right, I don't want to stumble into this. And then you have like the Giants and Titans with other early picks, and it's like I think the Giants are set on Dart. I think the Titans are set on Cam Ward. That they're kind of
Mhm.
like not in this weird limbo of things. Um, and I think this also will buy because outside of Rodgers, is there anyone that you can see ending their starting quarterback career this season?
I mean, Flacco might hang it up, but it seems like he kind of just likes being
Yeah, but
around. Uh,
but Flacco is like this plucky backup that just kind of collects
right.
is collecting teams
It's a
at
lot
this
easier
point.
to stay in the game when you're playing like 6 games a year. Like
Yeah,
when the state of the franchise isn't dependent on your body. I mean, we could always get a. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a surprise one between Burrow and Herbert, but that would be again,
I
that's a
don't.
blindside one.
Yeah,
In terms
I
of
was gonna
like,
say
yeah,
I don't
active
see that
guys,
as like a.
Gino,
Okay, Gino could possibly retire, but I feel like Pickett would instantly fill in the role unless if he's on a one season thing. But I don't think they can afford to be like, no, don't come back. Unless,
mm,
but they have.
Stafford. But I feel
I
like
think
he'd only
Stafford.
retire if they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think Stafford it would depend on unless if he gets a super bad injury or wins the Super Bowl. I think he's still
Right.
pretty committed. But yeah,
That's
no,
kind of it. It's a weirdly young branch of quarterbacks right now.
yeah. But we could
Russell
discuss.
Wilson, but he's not starting.
Yeah, we could discuss more about that in the off season.
Yeah.
Your
And I
game.
would be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge that was a pretty good, like, honestly, it kind of, my heart kind of sank when I'm like, they left too much time for the Rams. And
Yeah.
credit to the Rams, it really was, like, the difference between them losing in the regular season and winning it this time was the Rams had a chance to take the lead in the regular season, and they had an ill advised sack fumble recovery
Yeah.
that cost them the game. And this time, it's a 7 play, 70-yard drive, fucking dart to one of their tight ends. What's his name? Colby Parkinson. Again, they just for some reason they've just decided to invest in like 2 6 5 plus tight ends, and they just bully everyone now.
Hmm.
And yeah, it would have been a real bummer for a team that has such high expectations to completely crap out in the wild card round against a team with a losing record. So at the bare minimum, I'm happy they made it here. And this unfortunately finally leads us to uh, my pick, Philadelphia, San Francisco. Do you have anything you want to say about this?
Oh, I have a lot of things I want to say about this. Um,
You have
no,
the floor. You gave me time to talk about the Bills.
it's going to be the same thing as always. The last couple of weeks with them, where the offense just became oddly predictable, and while the defense is holding them to so much, there
Mm-hmm.
isn't there wasn't anything that like they could only stop them so much before they just either A got exploited by like throwing towards Adoree Jackson's direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like yeah, Quinion Mitchell got screwed over in the first drive back to back, but then he instantly locked in and made up for all of his misgivings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, all right, we can only do so much, and people are like running into Jordan Davis, and he's just putting them into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it just became the game of these weird offensive play calling, especially in the fourth quarter. There was like it was like 3-2. We're gonna go for this crazy pass, dude. Just give it to Bigsby and run.
Right. I think that's the infuriating part. They actually had a decent day on the ground compared to what we've been seeing from
Yeah.
the Eagles running game. And it's like, and like, again, the problem this year is you tried to run it back, basically run the same offense where it's like runs on first and second down and explosive plays on the ground open up our
Yeah.
pass offense. Like, we're going to be a low volume passing team because our goal is to have as few turnovers as possible because that's how we win, because our defense
Mm-hmm.
is good and we can run the ball and we can just run out the clock. And it's like, it's one thing to do that against good teams. It's one thing to do that against the Bills where you're kind of like on edge that like Josh Allen could throw a 50-yard touchdown at any
Yeah.
given time and break the momentum of the game. But that's unfucking acceptable against this defense. Like this defense is again another team that's inexplicably out of linebackers. I believe they brought what did they bring 3 starters back and 2 of them are out for the season.
Yeah.
Fred
It
Warner is
was
missing his first major amount of time ever, and you're still just
they were
like
on their I
trying to
think
dink and dunk your way to victory.
fifth, sixth, and seventh option for linebacker, and they were like I don't want to say they were like doing great, but it was just like these play calls for the Eagles, and won't deny there were some kind of upsetting drops from AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
Right.
It was a little yippy, if you ask me. Um,
Yeah,
but
AJ, I'm sorry, you can't play like that, buddy. You just can't. Like,
yeah,
I know that's like the nadir of football discourse, but like, you can't talk this much and then play like that.
but there's like a picture of like this fourth quarter like huddle where it's Hurts, Patullo, and Sirianni, and
You have zero faith they're going to come up with anything here.
yeah, and it's like, all right, this play did not work on third down. Let's, and then it's like you could see Patullo basically be like, let's do it again, and Hurts is just like, what? Like this guy had a look of disbelief because of
Yeah.
what he was being told, and it's just like, and that's how they lost the game is their final drive with the ball on third down they ran a play, and then on fourth down they ran the same exact play. It's just
And it's not just that they called a timeout to debate it, ran the
and
same play, and the play in question was four verts. They literally just went four wide,
yeah,
run, try and get open. True. Again,
you can
I know it's so lazy to just be like, offensive coordinator did it again, huh? But it really is like
if he's
how
in
this
the
team's
play,
designed. You need a good offensive coordinator.
yeah, if he's in the play calling position, yeah, he needs like you gotta step up there, and especially if you've been getting these weird losses and stuff for this
Right.
predictable nature.
And it's like, look, at some point we have to put a little bit on Hurts. He kind of had a bad
He
year. Not a
he didn't have I don't
terrible
want to
year
say
this
he
year,
had
but
a
not a great year.
yeah, I don't want to say he had a bad year, but I will say it was far from his best year. But I think that's
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I guess my point is like, it could be on him to change the play calls and try to take more ownership of the offense. But again, it's like if we haven't done that the last 5 years, this guy's been the starting quarterback for the Eagles. Why the fuck would we
yeah,
start doing it now
and and if
on his fifth coordinator?
yeah, I mean he's never had since college ball. He's never even including college ball. He's never had the same coordinator
Mm.
twice or play caller twice. Um, I think the biggest problem with I think not the biggest problem with him specifically is um, it's like he gets into he gets put into this situation where it's just like, do I trust this dude? Do I want to do this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of questioning things, and it's like if you notice, like he's a great runner, but he barely
Mm-hmm.
ran this season. And if it
Oh, yeah, they completely abandoned the design running game, which I
yeah
guess for a veteran quarterback is fine for the regular season, but it's the play. Like, again, as mad as I am that Josh Allen is getting, like, the absolute hell beaten out of him on these designed runs, it's like, well, that's kind of, when you're a running quarterback, that kind of is a part of the deal. Once it gets to the playoffs, you're going to have to gut it out.
yeah, and you have these great receivers, but it's like if we're gonna make them run the same exact routes where they can't beat corners that they're clearly better than, what are we
Mm-hmm.
doing here? Oh, we're gonna go
It,
5 yards and cross, done.
yeah.
5 yards and cross,
It is
done.
incredible.
And that's on third and fourth down when because the first two rounds we're trying to run with Saquon and everyone's like, "Hey, this guy was a freak last year. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be ready for him." And
And it's not like there
and
haven't been
everyone's like,
seven other
"Yeah,
examples of a guy running for 2,000 yards and then having a down year immediately following.
yeah,
It's not like there isn't a
that,
historic precedent for that you could use to redesign your offense.
yeah." It's I think yeah, that might be like them trying to run it back with Saquon when it was blatantly clear that it was just like this wasn't working in September, but they
Right.
stuck with it for so long into the season is crazy.
Right.
Where
And it's like, I don't know. The fact that like actual serious pundits are calling out the play calling and like the design of the offense makes me feel a little better about like, well, this is a fixable problem. But I love like people are going back because again, it's like the last time the Eagles collapsed, it didn't really start till like the middle to end of the season.
yeah,
There's a weird stretch where everyone got the flu or COVID, and then things started to
uh,
deteriorate,
it
and
was
like the lack of talent on offense defense really started to show.
when
Whereas this, like,
yeah,
we could make excuses for that Cowboys game because there was like a weird storm. But then when it kept happening as we get to October and November, it is weird that, like, I don't know, I thought they'd figure it out, especially this year because the defense was actually good.
yeah,
The year
no,
they lost to Tampa in the wild card, the defense was
the
bad. Whereas
defense
this
was
year, it's like,
terrible. Yeah, they had nothing like that that defense had nothing going for them and Tampa ran all over them like
whereas
fast.
this, again, I like obviously San Francisco played better than you, But like, it's not like they were out. Like, if it wasn't for one really well designed trick play where Juan Jennings throws a beautiful pass to McCaffrey and
That
he
was a
makes
good
this
pass.
insane bend body to make the catch. I mean,
Christian
McCaffrey had to do a
McCaffrey
lot of
set an
work to
elite
catch that.
milestone. Yeah.
Yeah. He had to do a lot of work to catch that, but at the same time, I'm like, it's a wide receiver on an end around across his body. I'm going to give him some grace that, like, this is probably about as good as a throw as you could ask a wide receiver to make here. But it's like, outside of that, like, they didn't score. Like, it should be perfectly reasonable to, even with that play, it's perfectly reasonable for an offense to get 24 points against these guys.
Yeah.
And it's the little experiment I was talking about. It's funny because I've actually used this as a framing device for a couple of things now. So let's just say, for sake of argument, you're drafting between these two teams. For sake of argument, let's say the best two players on the Eagles are Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, and the
Okay.
best on the 49ers are Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, who obviously had a really nasty Achilles injury in
Yeah.
this game. And it's a real bummer for a team that I actually think can punch above its weight for the rest of the way. How many? Assume those four have already been picked. How many Eagles are you picking before you even get to a single 49er? Jalen
Uh,
Carter,
yeah.
Devontae Smith, literally just off the top of my butt, Dallas Goddard, the two cornerbacks, Quinion and Cooper, uh,
Yeah.
Sidney Brown, no, Nolan
No.
Smith, maybe
Nolan Smith, maybe. Jordan
Zach
Davis
Bond,
not being on your list.
Jordan Davis. I
Crazy.
almost forgot.
Zach Bond
That's
and
like
Reed
9 before
Blankenship.
we even get to a
You can
before we even discuss another 49er.
you can fill up um most of the defense and a solid amount of your offense before you start
Even
delving into the
consider picking a
49ers.
49er.
Yeah.
And that, at some point, that has to be unacceptable. And like, look, I'm not a fire Sirianni guy. You kind of have to give him
I
grace after winning a Super Bowl. But at some point, it's like you're wasting the prime of a lot of talented players
I
to
think
like
yeah,
bring your friend up to be your offensive coordinator.
I think that's kind of where I'm sitting at with this postseason of he promoted Patullo himself and it clearly didn't work and like the
Also,
offices
you're a
and
vibes coach,
yeah,
and like the vibes went off the rails in October and never recovered.
yeah, the offices and everyone are they're at least like acknowledge like smart enough to acknowledge it's like with Sirianni, A, we've won a Super Bowl, B, we've been to two Super Bowls, and
Mm-hmm.
he's quietly one of the like best young coaching records and stuff of
Mm-hmm.
all time where it's like going 5 for 5 or 5 for 6 for his first years as a head coach, going like for like making it into the playoffs, having one of the like fastest all-time winning records as a young head coach, and it's just like so it's like he's quietly a very good coach. You can't deny that. But the offensive coordinator pickup has to be something like has to be done like they did for Steichen, like they did for um, the dude who's now on the Saints, whose name I'm forgetting,
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. Um, but it's just like they gotta. I think it has to be put up to Howie, and I saw earlier today that it is like Howie, Sirianni, and Laurie. I think Laurie squared. I think Laurie's son is also helping out
Mm-hmm.
for this filling in offensive coordinator spot, and they are talking to people like the Ole Miss coach that helped Dart become secretly a very dominant player in college, Dable,
Mm-hmm.
McDaniels, and it's just like all right, they're interviewing people that would logically fit into our head coach or our offensive coordinator slot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it seems like there's a good thing going, and defense is safe because Vic Fangio runs a machine that they just need another solid safety to play backup because Makuba was great, but he got hurt and then he was done for the season.
Mm-hmm. It might be time to move on from Reed, just in terms of like age. at some point you got to start getting more young guys in and figure out if they're good or not. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's just weird. Like
Reed. I mean, Reed's still
I
on
have
his
kind of
undrafted rookie contract.
really. Oh
Yeah,
damn.
yeah. He was
Hmm.
picked up, I think, the same year as Davis, but he was an undrafted free agent. His contract is up, but I think his contract's up. N'Kobe Dean's contract is up, but I think they're gonna keep Reed. I think they're gonna let Dean walk. I
Yeah, it is just weird because it's like we're still running it back. It's just with a different coordinator. I don't know. Like this guy, you have. I know this is like going before we even get to the off season. Like this is my ESPN level hot take of like, if you don't get to the conference title game next year, Sirianni's got to go, and there's got to be like a reimagining of this. That's when
I
you have to start breaking it up. There's too much talent on this team. The
I
expectations are too high. Like I know playoffs
I
are variable, but at some
yeah.
point sheer talent needs to be able to get you pretty far.
I'm I'm going to tentatively agree with you on that. I think it's going to depend on how the conference works out. If if the East, or not the if the NFC becomes this dog shit conference,
Mhm.
which it could, um, yeah, conference game. If it's a very competitive conference like it was this year, I will accept him staying if he makes it to the divisional. He can't have
Mhm.
he can't have a yeah, Sirianni can't afford to have a miss. He also can't afford to have one round exit again.
Right. Shall we move on to the low? Well, it's weird because we like kind of cover the lows because we end up just kind of talking about
There's
all the games, but we do have a
yeah,
few left.
the lows.
Um,
Imagine being the Cardinals. Three of the four
I
divisional
elaborate.
NFC teams
Oh, ah,
are NFC West, and then there's the
God, what would
Cardinals.
have to happen to what would have to happen for it to be one division winner and then all three wild card teams?
A crazy amount of stuff.
B-
I've been trying to do the logistics on this, and it
Like,
is
how
not
many cart games would the Cardinals need to win out of their division to crawl their way into
every
the wild
single
card
one.
spot? It really would have to be that. Like every team
So
goes perfect outside the division,
what
and
is
the
it?
division is like 4-2, 3-3, 3-2, 2-4.
Yeah, so they would need to get. So they can afford, what is it, 6 losses? Yeah, three division losses. So let's say, what is that? 11. They could go 11-6 and technically be a playoff caliber team, and that's including them losing to every single NFC West team. But they would need to flawless every single other game and actually, if they did that this year, they would have made it. If they lost every other single game, they would have been the 7 seed.
Wow.
And
Just
if the
once before I die.
in the world of hypotheticals, if that then the Bears become the Bears stay the 2 seed versus a 7 seed Cardinals, they have the chance to win and put them down, and it could theoretically be an exclusive divisional thing, but I don't. It's
Mhm.
so niche, and they're looking for their next "where my killer's at" thing. Um, let's see other things. Pittsburgh and LA, also specifically the Chargers, also had a very sad performance with a whopping field goal in the second quarter, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's. We can
There's
say that
nothing
really
new.
quick.
There's
Yeah, their offensive line was bad. The interior was somehow worse than the injured tackles. There were a couple plays to make, and Herbert didn't make them. And their defense was surprisingly good, and actually almost stole them this game.
I think
Like,
this kind of puts them as frauds, if I'm being honest.
yeah, it's kind of felt that way. It kind of felt like a solid defense and Herbert playing out of his mind for a couple weeks was able to get them over the hump to make the playoffs. But like, yeah, this was a really bad performance by Herbert. Like, I can't
You
put a
could,
shine on this
yeah.
one.
No, I
Like, he
think
got sacked 6 times, and that's that. But like, again, it really just took like two big plays, man, and you could beat this team.
I think this once
I
again
kind of think they're both
solidifies
frauds
my
because like
point.
the Patriots weren't very good.
Patriots weren't very good, but they're at least given the grace of they won by more
And
than
also,
like a
again,
score.
rookie quarterback in his first playoff game.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, technically not a rookie quarterback. It's his
well,
second, but first
rookie
playoff.
playoffs, but yeah.
But I think that's. I think this kind of goes back to me going, Herbert's overrated. Anyway, all the
It's
teams.
well, here all I'll say
Tell
is
me
like
I'm wrong after this
I'm not
performance.
I'm not gonna fight you. This was a bad one. This is the equivalent of like Chris Paul stands watching that Phoenix Mavs series where they got blown out by 40 in Game 7, where I'm like, I can't defend this. But my only argument is sometimes like every generation needs a Dan Marino who like
Yeah,
on paper is good and more or less is good, but like when it matters, they just never win a playoff game. Again, for all my bitching about the Bills, I'm spoiled that they win a playoff game a year and they look good every year. And
yeah,
like even the playoff games they lose, you can be like, well, if this one thing happened and this one thing happened, someone has to take the fall and not really get any playoff success. And I hope they can turn it around next year because they built a lot of interesting stuff so far. But like, yeah, it's tough. I can't fight you on this one. I'll have to
yeah.
eat crow on this one.
Um, eliminated teams: Panthers, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Chargers, and obviously Pittsburgh.
Yes,
Oh
I don't really have anything else to say about them. I think we
no,
covered all of
that
them
we
pretty
covered it all
well.
pretty in depth. Actually, we're pretty much just gonna
I was going
go
to say
through
we're
the
pretty much
rest.
on to next week already.
Yeah.
Um,
Notable notes. I thought this was a very fun one. The same exact seeds won in both conferences.
really? Huh?
Yes.
Look at that.
It was the 2 seed won, the 3 seed lost, the 4 seed lost, and the opposite.
Huh? I'll be dipped. That is interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that's just a little. It's just a fun fact. It's
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, so it's going to be the ones versus the sixes,
Hmm.
and the twos versus the fives.
I will say, and like I'm trying not to talk too much more about the Bills because I don't want to jinx anything, and I'm like very anxious about this playoff run because it's very different. But like seeing the possibility that it could be Houston Bills in the conference final really
I'm
does
about
piss me
that.
off that we blew that Eagles game
Yeah,
because if we won that, I'm pretty sure we would have gotten the 5 seed and we'd have one more game. The only way the Bills could have had one more home game is if the Chargers somehow managed to squeak through their side, which very clear, literally in the first quarter, I'm like, well, that's not happening. So I
yeah,
guess Ralph Wilson is closed for good now. Um, but it's also like, if you're going to play the Texans, I want at least one chance to play them at home because I'm like, maybe we're just bad in Houston. Maybe it's the volume of the stadium and that it's like
yeah. I guess
nice
they were thinking.
weather or like it's in a dome or not a dome. They're not a dome. They're one of those boxcar children ones where it's like a square with glass.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I know what
you
you
know,
mean.
I would have liked to have seen that, but now that's impossible
Yeah,
because of got damn birds.
yeah.
Um,
The classic question of the eliminated teams: who would make for the best Super
mhm.
Bowl? I went with the Eagles without Patullo versus Jacksonville to watch Kieran explode.
That would be very funny, and also like a good matchup in terms of talent.
Oh yeah, it would have
Two
been.
very stout, yeah, two stout running defenses. Two quarterbacks who like have a lot of discourse, but like tend to make big plays when it matters. I think it would have been fun. I also took Jacksonville, but I said Green Bay. And again, it's like we can't wish cast them to be healthy, but like I really did
I
think there
was.
was a window where they could pull this off through sheer coaching and
Yeah,
like gusto,
I think it was
like a
possible for
Jordan Love
both sides.
ascension story.
Next week, first round buys are coming back. That brings the
Yes.
Broncos and the Seahawks into the fray. So the formal schedule is Saturday at 4, something or other. Buffalo versus Denver.
Three, I think. You want to laugh? Me and Sydney were actually wondering why they do that. And I really do think it's just like they want to
I'm
make sure everyone
calling
watches the
BS
entirety of
on
the
here
game.
because I'm actively looking at it as it says 4:30.
Oh. What?
I'm
Well, I know the Super Bowl starts early.
yeah,
What? It is 4:30. I'll be dipped.
yeah.
Um,
Followed
yeah,
by
but oh, Sunday. Well, Sunday
Sunday
is
is
3 and
later.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah, which I think they do that just because, like,
they need to
a
like
lot of people will
allot
just
time.
go to bed during the 8 o'clock Sunday night game. So I do think they're like, we got to start it early enough that you watch the whole game and then go straight to bed.
Also, I think there's like an award show in Hollywood. Elites are paying big money for them to make it earlier. Um,
What?
isn't there like an award
Oh,
show or
conspiracy
something?
theorist?
No.
No, the Golden Globes already happened last week.
Ah,
The
hey.
Oscars are in for a couple more weeks. They haven't finished the finalists yet.
Well, shows what I know. I'm sticking with my theory though. So we have Bills Broncos at 4:30, 49ers Seahawks
All those schemas in
at 8
Hollywood.
p.m. We have Texans Patriots at 3 on Sunday and Rams at Chicago at 6:30. The
Um,
biggest upset potential slots.
well, hold on. I will say the Oscars are March 15th, the 98th. Man, I hope we make it to 100. Not holding my breath, though, um, because I would suffocate.
Yeah.
But yes, you picked San Francisco at Seattle. A great choice. I was going to pick that before you got to it. I really need to beat you to this earlier.
It's you have access to this at any time.
I know, and I forget to do it. I drag my feet on I drag my feet on like note taking work, which is weird because that's like half of my career.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see
It's
that because like anytime there's like a third matchup, I think things get a little funky. Um,
yeah.
and
There if it wasn't 1-1 for the season between the two of them, I would be like, okay, this is weird. I do like how it's going to be a rematch of week 1 and technically week 18, but a more of a rematch of week 1.
mhm. Yeah, I am so like honestly like all the talk about like this is Josh Allen and the Bills' best chance because this team Patrick Mahomes is in it, and I'm like, have we considered that that's actually San Francisco we're talking about? Because like unlike the Bills, the 49ers have made a Super Bowl. They've made
Yes.
2 Super Bowls since 2020, as a matter of fact. And the only thing, well, other than the Eagles traditionally, the only other thing really getting in their way at any given time is the Patrick Mahomes being a superhuman at the 11th hour. And I'm like, I could see this being like, because it's always the year you don't expect it, right? It's
Hmm.
always the year you don't think you're going to win the Super Bowl. So, like, I can easily see this being the year where they're like a little outgunned and outmanned and just coach their way to success. Like, we do conveniently forget that Sam Darnold is leading the league in turnovers, and like
Yeah.
if he turns into a pumpkin at just the wrong time, who knows what can happen?
I think he's got the benefit. Like, yeah, him turning into a pumpkin versus. Excuse me. Gonna explode.
Oh God, get down!
Yeah, him turning into a pumpkin versus the team with like eighth string backups in their backfield is going to be crazy. Side note,
Yeah,
kind of related to that, you mentioned Sam Darnold. I think I sent it to you, where both of our one seeds are about to play their first playoff games as starters
that's well,
this
no,
week.
Darnold played one last year. Remember
Oh
they
no,
got
they don't have.
Molly,
They Broncos also lost last
but they
week.
both have never had a playoff win.
They've never had a
Yes,
playoff win. That's it, and they're in the
yes,
divisional round, which is funny
yes,
because
and
they
they
still
both got
never
the one
haven't
seeds because this is a weird year.
because they still have not won. Anyway, your
Um,
biggest upset is kind of interesting.
Yes, Houston at New England. Honestly, seeing the Chargers defense actually play really tough against Drake May. And like it's interesting because it really was like 2 or 3 really bad drives from the Patriots offense. And then otherwise they looked fine. They weren't scoring a lot, but there were 1 or 2 drives where they just strung together a series of great plays, leading to a beautiful touchdown to Hunter Henry that ended the game. But they do feel gettable right now. And I do think if there's one team that has all the juice to stop them, it is Houston. Houston's defense, I really do think it's going
They're
to come down
freaks.
to can Houston's defense take advantage of a second year quarterback in his second playoff and just make those 1 or 2 plays? It's going to be an ugly one, boys and girls. It's going to be like a
It's
19-17 mud fight.
it's
And
gonna
I
be
think that is a
bloody.
space that Houston could actually steal a win.
What is the weather
Um,
gonna be? I feel like this would be a great snow game.
I think there's oh God, yeah. I think there's
I don't.
supposed to be a little. Well, at least here. Well, it's clear tonight. Is there a moon tonight?
It's gonna be
I'm gonna go
gross.
talk to
Oh,
Khonshu.
actually, just updated. It's looking like we might get a little bit of snow this this Lord's Day. As somebody
Yes,
who's
and
a lot
unfortunately,
more in New England than you are.
oh right, I was gonna say I'm like right. The weather patterns might not be accurate from my stance, But also, we have a the last clear night we're going to have for a bit. We have a waning crescent, illumination 3%, moonrise at 6. Oh, right. We're in that weird stretch where the moon is mostly out during the day. And then,
Yeah.
fun fact, we're going to get 2 full moons in February because the I don't know, the moon system, or in March, because the moons have been weird and very early. But because February is a short month, we get 2 in March.
It's
Anyway,
because the moon goes on like a
uh,
28-day cycle, and there's over 30 days in each month, so it slowly gets earlier and earlier each month till like year over year, and then it becomes late again. So
right. It's finally going to bounce back to being relatively late in the month after this stretch. But anyway, one little fun fact I would like to introduce in regards to discussing quarterbacks, where every remaining starting quarterback was selected in the draft. Matthew Stafford and
that's
Caleb Williams were both drafted first overall. CJ Stroud was drafted second overall. Sam Darnold was drafted third overall, though grade that on a curve because he's on his like fourth team. Drake May was third. Uh, Josh Allen was seventh. Bo Nix was 12th. And Brock Purdy was 262nd.
yeah,
Kind of. Well, I
real
mean,
monkey
look,
wrench
the
on
meta
that
is
one.
quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean, the meta is quarterbacks, and maybe that's just the exception that proves the rule.
I'm gonna
One
be.
game to watch.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna be honest
Go
though.
ahead.
If it was Hertz, Hertz was like 30 to 50, so it would still be a clear drop.
Right. Just not as dramatic. That's still like one of the first picks of the second round. That's not that bad.
Yeah,
Wait, is it? Well, it's still moderately early in the second round, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, but your game to watch is the one, again, the one I wanted to pick, Los Angeles Rams versus Chicago Bears.
yeah. No, I feel like that's just two very competitive, fun teams. You know, you could agree with me. We're operating on this system of like 4 games.
Right, we're running out of games here. You really do run out of games fast during the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah, well, I'll just say my game to watch is San Francisco Seahawks. But to talk about the Rams, Chicago is, I'm kind of just convinced the Bears have the mandate from heaven. The Pope is from Chicago now, and it seems like that has like caused some kind of like divine intervention with these fourth quarter comebacks. And like the Rams this year, on paper, they have been one of the best teams in the NFL, but have lost a handful of games due to nonsense and shenanigans. A weird stretch of turnovers at the worst time, some bad special teams play at the worst time. If there is a team that can exploit that to its fullest extent, it is the team who only shows up for the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
who somehow gets magical god powers for a single quarter. Um, I also
Here's
think it's
something
fast.
fun for that. I'm
Mhm.
looking at this post on the predicted temperatures for each game time.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
It's gonna be fucking cold. It is
Yes. The
15
city of
degrees.
Chicago. Yes. The city of Chicago will be in a dangerous wind chill, 26-degree high, feels like -1 degrees. And the Rams in the Stafford era have not played particularly well outside and have kind of had the advantage of mostly playing in warm weather cities during the playoffs. Uh,
Yeah.
so if there was ever a chance for shenanigans and haberdash to happen, because, well, at the end of the day, the Bears are the number 2 seed. But, like, I believe betting favorites are the Rams,
I
so it'd
would
still
say
technically be an upset.
the Bears
But
are the number
yes,
2 seed, but the Rams couldn't be higher than 5.
right. Yeah, where the rules sort of bend things. But like, yeah, I'm actually very bullish on the Bears. I really think it'd be a cool story to get to the conference final. And like, I think this is either going to be a weirdly tense, like 12-12 game where one team has like the game breaking touchdown at the end, or it's going to be the most delightful shootout we've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah, I think that's gonna all depend on just how this this weather breaks for them, and specifically breaks into the Rams. I
Mhm.
think that's going to be the biggest outlying factor, because like at least the Bears have, it's cold enough there that they can kind of practice in the cold to at least get their body used to it. Unless if somebody's willing to let the Rams travel, they're not playing in cold.
Right.
Like they played in
Ah, this is going to be a
Carolina,
fun
which
one.
isn't like cold. Yeah,
It's like temperate.
and your game to watch is another tough East.
I don't really have anything else to say. San Francisco Seahawks. I love division games. I
Round
think
three.
both teams in are both yeah, I think both teams are in an interesting spot. I just want to see good play from both of them because I think the 49ers have overcome so much this year that I don't want to see him stink it up. And also, like, I don't know, I empathize with Darnold. It's nice that he turned his career around. I want him to get one really good playoff
Yeah.
moment.
Oh, one last thing that I think I want to bring up. It is either I forget if they win this week or it was because of last week, but the Houston Texans, founded in the year of our Lord 2002, have
Mhm.
officially tied the amount of playoff games as the Arizona Cardinals, founded in our Lord 1890 something or other.
That's actually deranged. The Cardinals have gone to a Super Bowl. That's like they've at least gotten four once. That's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap them up for the day?
Send this to the divisional round, Carter.
The way we talked about these games, there's a lot of different takeaways you can have from this. The stress of the margins, the stress on the body. I think the key word, my if my word of the day last time was time, this time it is stress. These are the moments that kind of make or break athletes, make or break coaches, make or break cities with how manic people get about this stuff. Like, it really is the anxiety and pressure of your body breaking down, the cold wearing you down, and knowing that despite all of it, despite all the injuries and all the wear and tear and just the anguish that an NFL season can bring, you're going to have to forget all of that, dig deep, and make those one or two game deciding plays that will change the momentum and guarantee you at least one more week in the fight. There's nothing guaranteed left. There's nothing reassured. It's just ugly, ugly, ugly trench warfare going forward, where we all got to dig deep and go beyond, plus ultra. I'll see you all on the other side of the trench.